peeps. Happy Saturday. I hope everyone is doing well. It is story time. Okay, so it is so weird having these story times because sometimes throughout the week I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Saturday is story time and what am I going to talk about? Now, this one is kind of funny. So on my channel, I do the best I can not to use too many curse words at all. I try to keep it as clean as possible, but like Emily D. Baker here on the channel, I'm a fan of the cursey words. But I just try not to use them on my channel. But I actually became a fan of the cursey words as a young person, foul potty mouth, let me tell you. So there was this guy that I was dating, and he really thought that he was all that. This dude was just way too daggone much. And I remember one day he had truly ticked me off, and he came over to my house and I went out on the front porch, to talk to him and everything. But it was a warm, spring day. It was really breezy out. And sometimes in the spring you like to just open up the windows and let all of the fresh air come in. So I was out on the porch talking to him, and my mom was upstairs in her room. She was laying across the bed reading a book, and he had really ticked me off. And the next thing you know, Lord have mercy, I read that boy for filth. Listen, he was everything but the child of God. Let me tell you, I let him have it. And my mom came running down the steps because she was about to hand it to me. Let me tell you, she was about to give me the business for running my mouth like that, using all those nasty cuss words, and just disrespecting her, period, by running my mouth. Anyway, as she got halfway down the steps, my dad said, "Where are you going? What's going on?" And she said, "Do you hear Pia out there? She has told that boy to F off. She has said all kinds of stuff. I can't believe she uses that language." And my dad said, "Really? She learned it from you." And I don't think so. You are not about to go out on that front porch and get all in her face about using language that she learned from you. Oh my gosh. My mom froze. Her face was broke, cracked and on the ground, because my dad had just shined a reflection right in her face. He said, "So you are about to go outside to get on this girl's back because she is outside cursing like a sailor." He's like, "Actually, she's got the sailor beat." He had actually heard the whole thing. He already knew why she was coming down those steps, and he also knew that my mouth was foul. However, he let her know, "No, ma'am, she learned it from you. That is how you speak." My dad has always kept, pretty clean mouth. When I came back in, however, that wasn't the end of it. When I came back in, my mom did sit me down and we had a long talk. We talked about my potty mouth, but we also talked about her potty mouth. And she promised me that she would work on cleaning up her language if I promised that I would clean up my language. The thing about that was so funny to me is because the truth is, she never realized it. She could curse with the best of them, but it never occurred to her. It never hurt her ears to hear herself cursing. But when she heard her child really going crazy cursing at someone else, that sent her a little bit over the edge. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I did my best to watch my mouth whenever I knew my parents were in earshot. However, out of their sight, I was still cussing like a sailor. And the truth is, every now and again, if you really take me out of my comfort zone, I will let you have it. Okay, I just try my best not to do it on my channel because I want to be respectful of everyone who watches my videos. Some people who watch my videos, they don't care if I use any curse words, but other people might. So I do my best to try not to use too many curse words. Every now and again, you might hear me say damn or something, but if so, it's because somebody really ticked me off. But other than that, I try my best to be as respectful as possible. And I also know that 9 times out of 10, my parents are going to watch my videos, and I don't want to disrespect them because they don't. My mom has completely switched up. She does not use foul language, and my dad never really did. So I try my best to be respectful to them. So that was just a little funny story. She was really about to let me have it. And you know, the funny thing is, if she would have came out there, she probably would have cursed me. 9 times out of 10, she would have used cuss words to tell me not to curse. Anyway, I love that lady with everything in my heart. I love her. So my next little story is about me and some of my best friends back in the day. So me and these ladies have known each other for years, and we still do. So here's the situation. My one friend, I'm going to call her Yvette. She was dating this really nice guy, and I'm going to call him Todd. Okay, so Yvette was dating this guy named Todd, who seems like a really nice guy. He was tall, he was handsome, you know, a little cutie. And all of us got together and we went to a movie. So while we were at the movie, Todd was very handsy. And I said, you know what? Don't put your hands on me, buddy. You know, it was just, you know, first it was, you know, little soft brushes of his arm and my arm. And then it was, oh, I'm sorry, you know, his hands on my knee. And, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, the first couple times I said, okay, well, you know, maybe these seats are a little tight. I don't know, you know. But then after a while, I leaned in and said, don't put your hands on me. Okay, I don't play that. So later, when we leave the movie, we all go to my friend Vanessa's house. So we're over there, and the next thing you know, this dude has the nerve to ask me out. And I said, you know what, buddy, I don't do that. I really don't. And I thought, you know, Todd is a handsome guy, but I don't play that. I am a girl's girl. And if my friend is dating you, talking to you, you know, she has a child with this guy, right? I'm like, buddy, you are about to get tore up. So I pull my friend Vanessa to the side and I say, you know, Todd keeps hitting on me. And I don't want to tell Yvette because they just had a brand new baby and I don't want to hurt her, but I really do need to make it clear to this dude that this is a no-go. I am very uncomfortable. And Vanessa says, really? She says, well, what's going on? So I tell her the whole thing and she is, you know, in complete shock. And she says, oh, well, that can't go on. Oh, we're going to have to handle this. So she decides to pull him to the side and let him know that she doesn't appreciate him trying to talk to me, and neither do I, and that he better cut the crap. And I thought, well, good. I'm glad she took care of it, because the last thing I wanted to do was tell Yvette and then have Yvette brokenhearted and, you know, upset when she just had a baby. You know, their baby was probably maybe 6 months old at the time. So about 2-3 months later, I get a call from Yvette and she says that her and Todd have broken up. She feels that Todd is cheating on her and she doesn't want to live anymore. And I said, what? You know, I figured, yeah, Todd's a cheater, whatever, but you don't want to live anymore. And I told her, I said, you know what? Just hold on. I'm going to come over. So I call Vanessa and I tell her, I said, for some reason, I said, Yvette thinks that Todd is cheating on her and she wants to end her life. And she says, what? Oh my God. So I get in the car, I drive over to Vanessa's house and we drive over to Yvette's house. When we get to Yvette's house, we tell her that she should come out with us. We had another friend stay with her baby and we said, you know what, let's go out. Let's go for a ride. So we are out riding around with her, trying to convince her, you know, that life is worth living and, you know, you don't have any true facts. So you're not positive that he's cheating on you, even though I know he's a complete jerk and that 9 times out of 10 he probably is. However, I don't know. I don't have any proof that he is. Maybe, but you know, I'm saying whatever I have to say to get this girl to realize that life gets better and he's not worth ending her life and removing herself out of this world away from her new baby and family and friends like me and Vanessa who love her. So we end up riding around town with this girl for about 4.5 hours. It got to be super late. And then finally, it seemed as if she had a real breakthrough, and we take her home. And then I take Vanessa home. And everything is going great for a few weeks. She makes up with Todd and she's happy again. And I'm ecstatic because I'm thinking, even though I think he's a complete jerk, she's still around. She is happy now. She's smiling. And there's no chance that she's going to, do anything to harm herself. Even though I'm still trying to convince her that I know she's happy, but maybe she'd be happier with somebody else. And maybe she should get a little therapy. Because even though we were younger, I was still an advocate for therapy, And I was still an idiot in my relationships. Don't get me wrong. I really sucked at relationships, especially, putting myself first, which I, for some reason, had a really hard time doing that. And another thing that I noticed about myself is I give really good relationship advice to other people. I just suck at my own relationships, well, back then anyway. So I remember one day I got a call from Vanessa, and she asked me would I give her a ride over to Yvette's house. And I said, well, sure. I thought maybe they were going to hang out, watch a movie or something at her house. So I gave her a ride over to Yvette's house, and I went in because I wanted to see the baby and I wanted to say hi to Yvette. And then I was just going to, get back in the car and go home. So while I was, hugged up with the baby and everything, Vanessa tells Yvette, she says, well, I just wanted to come over here to let you know that you weren't imagining things with Todd. Todd is seeing somebody else and he's seeing me. Honey, listen, I couldn't get that baby back in her playpen fast enough. I whirled around as if I was some sort of vampire from True Blood. Let me tell you, I said, oh, what? I mean, my heart almost shattered faster than Yvette's. I turned around, I looked at Vanessa, I said, excuse me. And she said, yes, I'm sorry I didn't tell either one of you, but Todd and I are together now, and he's going to be moving into my place. I did not move. My eyes were glued to her face like, are you out of your damn mind? Just a few weeks ago, we were riding this girl around in the car trying to convince her that her life was worth living, and I had no clue. How long have you been talking to this? I mean, listen, I had so many questions. I was just sitting there, oh my gosh. These two started arguing back and forth with each other, and I'm just staring, because I'm in complete shock. I said, well, what? How long have you been talking to him? What? Listen, before the movie, when he was trying to hit on me, she had already been dating him. And when she went off on him about him hitting on me, it wasn't to protect Yvette. It was because she was sleeping with him and he was her boyfriend too. I said, well, I'll be dang. What is going on? Listen, Yvette, wow, this girl blew up. She threw Vanessa out, and then she whirled around on me and she told me to get the F out of her house. And I was standing there and I'm like, Yvette, I'm sorry. I didn't know. And she starts yelling at me, talking about I knew and I should have told her, what kind of friend am I, and blah, blah, blah. I'm standing there like a deer in the headlights. What? I said, Yvette, I'm not lying. I am not lying. I would never had co-signed this. I wouldn't have brought her over here if I knew she was coming over here to lay this on you. Yet again, she looks at me and tells me that we are no longer friends and get the F out of her house. And so after I tried yet again to explain to her how sorry I was and that I was totally in the dark, I would have never brought Vanessa over here to do this, she continued to yell at me and tell me to get the F out of her house. So I can be rude sometimes. I told her, I said, you know what, Yvette? I've been put out of better places. And I just left. I mean, she slammed the door so hard after I walked out on her front porch. I just stood out there for a few minutes watching Vanessa lean up against my car. And honey, listen, my blood pressure was up. I was livid. I walked to my car. I said, you know what? I'm going to give you a ride home and don't you talk to me again. Do not do it. She gets in the car and she tries to apologize and explain everything to me. And I'm sorry, but I fell in love with him and he's my soulmate and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I said, she has a baby with him. She introduced you to him. When she introduced us to him, she was already in love with this dude. What? And I'm thinking to myself, how long have you been doing this? What is going on? Like, what kind of friend are you? One thing is for sure, when you are talking to me, if I am your friend, I don't mess around with somebody that you messed around with. I just don't. If you tell me that, hey, I just met this guy, Philip, and we've been on 2 dates, you can tell me that you went on 2 dates with Philip, and I will never date Philip. I don't care if you and Philip hate each other's guts. The point is you and Philip went on 2 dates. You are my friend. I'm not going to do that. I mean, I have gone out with my girlfriends as a group, and one of my girlfriends has pointed out a man that she's seen on the dance floor that she thought was the hottest thing in this place. And if that dude walks up to me, I try to introduce him to her. I don't try to grab him. My girl just said 2 minutes ago that he was the hottest man in here and she wanted to know him. If he comes to talk to me, I'm like, hey, how would you, this is my friend Melanie. I was so ticked off. I did not talk to this girl for months. I was just, no ma'am. She has a baby with him. No ma'am. But you know, it got worse. It just kept getting worse. So this dude, Todd actually moves into Vanessa's place. So, oh my God. Yvette starts calling different random pizza places in town and starts ordering pizza delivery to Vanessa's house. So every day for about 2 weeks, different pizza places were showing up to Vanessa's house. And she kept telling them, I have not ordered from you. I am not ordering pizza. What is going on? And it wasn't until the last delivery that she realized that Yvette was actually calling in orders and having these pizzas brought to her house. So she decides that she's going to one-up Yvette, and she calls our gas company, and she has Yvette's gas cut off. What? Next thing you know, Vanessa comes home from work and her electricity is cut off. I said, what in Sam hell is going on? This went back and forth for months until everybody got smart and started putting password protection on all of their accounts. I mean, it was so crazy. And then at one point, Vanessa had a warrant out for her arrest for something small. She had stole something from the grocery store. And she also worked at the portrait studio at the mall. Well, Yvette calls the police and lets them know that somebody that works at the portrait studio at the mall has a warrant out for their arrest and they're at work now. So right in the middle of doing someone's Christmas family photos, the police shows up and arrests Vanessa. Laugh at this now, but back then I was just shaking my head thinking, well, what is going on right now? Why in Sam hell are you two doing this over this dude? It turns out the dude is a complete loser, After a few months and all of this that they were doing to each other, he decides to pack up his little brown bag of crap and goes back to Yvette's house. I mean, it is what it is. Let me tell you, Yvette ended up having 3 children with him, and Vanessa had 1 child with him. And honey, listen, he is on child support for all these kids, and nobody gets any money. He's such a loser, a complete loser. And let me tell you, I have made up with Vanessa and Yvette. However, Vanessa and Yvette to this very day, they still do not speak. If Vanessa saw Yvette on the street and somebody happened to douse her in gasoline and strike a match, Vanessa wouldn't even call an ambulance. And vice versa. These 2 girls are crazy. Here I am just in the middle. It's nuts. It really is. But I guess it happens sometimes. I'm sure men do it too, but I had just never seen people go back and forth cutting each other's utilities off and everything like that. And then I kept on thinking, because this was years ago, and I said, well, how is she calling these utilities cutting her stuff off? But I guess back then, security at utility companies and things like that wasn't as stringent as now. When I try to call the gas company, they want my full account number. Sometimes they want the social security number. They want my full phone number, my address. I mean, it's ridiculous. And if you call Sprint wants the 4 to 6 digit code or your best friend's name. I mean, it's, I don't know. But they both ended up putting some sort of passwords on their accounts to stop these utilities from getting cut on and off. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Oh my God. So, you know what I thought? I remember in my last video, I talked a little bit about Eric, and I talked about how I became pregnant, and when I had my son, he wasn't there. But I never really kind of got around to how that happened. I mean, I know you guys know how I got pregnant, don't you? Anyway. So Eric and I dated for like a year and a half when we were in high school, and I was in love. Oh yes, ma'am. This was going to be the fairy tale of the century. You hear me? Like, we were going to graduate high school, graduate college, then we were going to get married. We were going to have 3 kids in a minivan. Yes, I wanted to be a minivan mom, okay? And it was just going to be happily ever after. So the whole, V situation, I thought it was okay to give it up, because he was going to be my husband in the future anyway. And let me just tell you, that was a big mess. That was no good. Dear God, it was awful. But anyway, we moving forward. We dated for about a year and a half. And after about a year is when the V thing happened. And then we dated 6 months after that. Still in high school. At around the year and a half mark, Eric started missing a lot of school. And I was thinking, well, my mama doesn't let me just not come to school. What is going on? And he just seemed to be okay, with missing school. It was okay with his mom. Everything was good. And one day he comes to school and he tells me that he can't be with me anymore. And I thought, what? I mean, my heart was broken. I mean, I was devastated, to the point where I cried so much that I was sent to the office, and then they had my mom come pick me up. I was devastated. And of course, I had to fake that I was sick. There was no way I was going to tell my mom that I'm at school crying like this, and you have to get off work a little bit early when, money is tight, and you are leaving work early to come pick me up because I'm crying over this boy who ain't ish anyway. You know what I mean? So she came and picked me up, and I was just devastated. It was a Friday, I remember, because I spent that whole weekend hauled up in my room in nothing but misery. And he calls me and explains to me that he's breaking up with me because he has fallen in love with a girl who's older than us. I was almost 17, and this lady that he started dating, she was 20 and he was 17, and she lived in the apartments that his mom lived in, and she had her own place, and she was older than him, so she pretty much was turning him out, if you know what I mean. And he could do whatever he wanted at her apartment. So eventually he ends up quitting school. It was pretty rough seeing him in school and knowing that it was just over and I had lost a dream. You know what I mean? My dream was dead. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. And as a teenager, it seems like a death. You know what I mean? When you break up with your first love as a teenager, it feels like somebody just ripped your heart out and threw it in a blender for kicks. You know, it was pretty bad. Later, I found out several months later that the lady that he left me for was pregnant. And I was just, that took me out. It really did. It took me out for about 4 months. I just could not deal with it. I couldn't cope with anything. But I made it through the rest of high school. I graduated, and then I started working at a Blockbuster Video. Oh my God. Blockbuster Video, what a difference. Anyway, I worked at the Blockbuster for about 4 months, and then I became a manager there. So yes, 4 months. Worked my way up to management. Anyway, I ended up hiring this lady named, I'm gonna call her Sam. I ended up hiring this lady named Sam. And Sam would always talk to me about this guy that she thought was really hot and she wanted to get with him, but really wasn't picking up what she was putting down. And I said, well, who is this guy? And she says, oh, his name's Eric. And I said, oh God. And I said, well, what's his last name? And she tells me, and I said, oh, okay. And I hadn't thought about him that much. And then all of a sudden, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, Eric comes into the Blockbuster, you know, on a Saturday night. And I see him walk through the door, and I'm just frozen to the space. I mean, you would have thought that, I don't know what, I can't remember the character's name. The character with all the ice from Mortal Kombat. Okay, you would have thought that that guy came into the Blockbuster and froze me. Okay, I was stuck to the place where I was standing, and I was just staring like, that can't be. It can't be. Let me tell you, this man, he's really hot. To this very day, Eric he's very sexy. Okay, tall, dark, handsome, perfect lips. I mean, okay. Anyway, I was frozen and I didn't know what to do or say. So when I finally kicked my own self in the pants, I ran to the office and I stayed in there and just watched him, stalked him on the video. I refused to talk to him. I refused to check him out. I just knew it. I said, if I even say hello to this dude, it is over for me. I am going to fall back down in this rabbit hole and I'm not going to be able to let go. So I just watched him on this monitor, and I knew that he was watching for me because I knew we saw each other, you know, like Nene Leakes, we see each other. Anyway, we saw each other, and then he knew that I went into the office. So he kept pretending that he was looking at the videos on the new release wall right by the office door. And he stood out there forever until the group of people he was with was ready to check out. And I stayed in there for about a half an hour until he left. once he left, I went maybe 3 weeks and I thought about this man every single day for 3 weeks. And I remembered a girl that we went to high school with. She was related to him. I went to her house one day, just got off work, and I drove directly to her house. And she answered the door and she says, Pia, she says, girl, I haven't seen you forever. What are you doing over here? And she looked at me and she said, is this about Eric? And I said, yeah. And I asked her, I said, is he single? And she said, yes. And I said, well, do you know where he is? And she said, well, I don't know where he is right now. She said, but I know where he is every Thursday. And I said, where is he every Thursday? And she said the name of the place, but for the life of me, I can't think of it right now. She said, well, his dad spins records. Okay, remember back in the day when people used to say they spin records? Anyway, his dad was a DJ. And she said he DJs the old school night every Thursday. And she says he's at this place. And she said, I bet if you went there, Thursday, which was 2 days from, the day that I was talking to her, she said, he'll be there. She said, he usually comes in around 11:30 or 12 o'clock. I said, okay. So, dumb old me. I actually got dressed up and picked her up Thursday and we went there. And like clockwork, at midnight, he strolls into the club. This place is packed. His dad is spinning records, okay? And he goes up to the DJ booth, he pounds it out, hugs his dad, they talk for a few minutes, and he's looking around the club and boom, zero, he sees me. So he comes over, he talks to me, he buys me a drink, we chop it up, talk about the past, he tells me all this stuff. This man has the gift of gab, let me tell you. He can convince an Eskimo that they are out of ice. You know what I mean? And listen, okay? We end up exchanging numbers and he calls me as soon as he gets home and he's at his house, I'm at my house, we're talking. We end up seeing each other, talking every chance we get. He's single. And, 3 months later, I end up pregnant. 3 months later. Honey, now listen. It was a whole lot that went into those 3 months. But I was dumb. Oh my God, that was such a dumb move. When you finally have the guy out of your life, don't go get him. Do you understand me? Leave him where he's at. However, like I've said, and like I have thought a million times, it was really dumb of me to find him. But the best thing that ever happened in my life was having my son. My son is everything to me. And this man gave me heartache and pain, mental anguish, like emotional baggage for days, okay? But he gave me the love of my life. My son is the love of my life, and I couldn't imagine what I would be doing or who I'd be bothered or tied up with if it wasn't for this little dude. And I always call him a little guy, but he's 6'4". He's a tall kid, but he's a gentle giant. And the crazy thing is, him and my son, they look identical. It is so crazy. Every time I look at him, I think of Eric in high school. They look identical. The only thing is my son is very well-mannered, and he would never play women like Eric at all. They are very different and the same. At the same time, my son also has the gift of caressing and stroking the women, if you know what I mean. He just doesn't use it for bad. I always told him that too growing up. Use your superpower for good, okay? And he does. Oh my God. There is so much more to tell about Eric. Oh Lord. And a few in between. And then of course we'll eventually get around to Aaron. Aaron, believe it or not, he did more damage than Eric, if you could believe it. I really thought that Aaron was the one, you know, because I started dating him when I was an adult. And let me just say, just because you've grown up and you're an adult, it does not mean that you cannot be played or fooled. Some people are just really good. Anyway, until next Saturday. Bye, peeps.